Randy and I have just finished watching Halloween 2, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2,
Yeah,
obviously, to
not
be
the good
specific.
one.
Hey, you're giving us away. You're spoiling the whole discussion.
Oh, I'm
Anyways,
sorry.
I own it. Randy doesn't, and then we looked on Amazon, we looked everywhere, and the only place we could really find it to buy, can't even rent it, was on Vudu. So that was a
Mm,
pain in the ass, but we did it. And
yeah.
Randy had to buy it.
So now I own
Sorry.
that movie. Hooray.
Yeah, but no, I guess if we want to just jump into talking about this movie, I think I'll start by saying like I don't know why I used to have a better impression of this movie, like a better opinion,
Right.
but I think I'll say why I did because I think we should start with the positive,
Hmm.
basically the one positive of the film in my mind, and I think you agree. Um, and it's why I was sort of blinded for a while because I only thought of this movie as this
Yeah.
for the most part. And that's, all the scenes and the character and the acting in the scenes with Laurie and Annie and Laurie, Annie, and Sheriff Brackett. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
those scenes. I actually really, really like those scenes. Like I said with the first Halloween, there's stuff that I actually do kind of like, and there's stuff that I hate, and this one's the same way. There's so much that I hate about this movie,
Yeah.
and then there's like that portion, that story that I actually really like, because it's like I don't know, it's not. Again, like I said, the acting is great. I think Daniel Harris and Brad Dourif in particular is amazing, and like the aftermath of what happened in the first film and how they're all sort of broken and all
Yeah.
that. And Brandy and I have talked about that before. Like that's something we really like with franchises and characters that we like. Like again, Resident Evil, we like when our characters are sort of in a bad place. I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting,
Me
and that
too.
was for sure my favorite part of this movie. Those three when they were together, like Laurie with her other friends, I hated that crap. But when
Yeah.
those three were together, it was the best. Like I said, acting, character, everything. I really, really like that stuff in this movie. And
Yeah.
then I know, additionally, sort of part of that kind of going off of that, and you could talk a little bit about it since I explained my main reason for loving this for loving this part of this movie. I almost said for loving this movie. Yeah, fuck that. But for liking that
Right.
part of this movie, um, and it's sort
Yeah.
of an extension off that part. And you were surprised when I pointed out who she was, but you want to talk
Oh.
about maybe the only other good part of this movie, and then we'll get to the shitty parts. Laurie and her therapist, played by.
Oh yeah, that was by Margot Kidder. Yeah. Oh my God, that was awesome because I do think Rob Zombie does a really good job with, he seems like he respects the weird thing about him is he seems like he does have a lot of respect for older classic horror movies and their actors. Obviously, I mean Dee Wallace in the last one, Brad Dourif, even bringing
Yeah.
back Danielle Harris. Like there's so many. Like he just and even little ones. Like I told you that guy. I swear it's not a coincidence. I think he did it on purpose too. But even that guy. That because he seems like a Stephen King fan anyway. I mean, Cujo was Dee Wallace's big horror thing, so I assume he's a Stephen King fan. And it even seems like that guy that was cast as like the slutty trashy like night watch guy that rapes that girl in the first one, which was a terrible scene, but like he's
Oh,
a big
yeah.
character in Children of the Corn. So it's like I feel like it's not he does it on purpose. He gets these actors on purpose, which I absolutely love. So obviously having Margot Kidder, and I am like obsessed with her, and I only really know her. I mean, I know her from Lois Lane. Everybody does like, and the old Superman, whatever. That's like what she's mainly known for. But in the horror world, everybody obviously,
Yeah.
I know her the best from Amityville Horror, which is probably one of, if not her biggest role, and she's fucking amazing in that. And that's like one of
Mm-hmm.
probably in my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. I love that movie so much, and she gives such a
Right.
good performance. And I always talk every time like I'm watching it, I'm just like, oh my god, she's so good. Like I just love some. There's just something about her I really really love. I can't even really pinpoint what it is. I seriously love her and to see her in this and I again yeah you had to tell me who it was, which is sad because I love her so much, but I didn't even recognize her because yes she does look obviously older, and I haven't seen anything like newer that she's done. I've just seen stuff from like the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe into the 80s, but I haven't seen anything like I haven't seen her recently.
Right.
And I know, unfortunately, she did pass
Right.
away. I want to say like less than a year ago. Wasn't it like a couple months ago? I forget. You and I, like, I should be more up to par on my
It was,
facts, but like you and I talked about it, and
yeah, it
it
wasn't
was
that long
sad.
ago. Maybe it was the
Yeah.
last year or two. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Um,
really sad, but that
yeah,
was a really awesome surprise, and she played like the perfect role. Like I would want her to be my therapist. Like, can Margot Kidder just
I
be my
know.
therapist, please? Like that
See,
was
and it's
cool. So
also it's like when he gets those like icons of the genre and he puts them in. I mean, I think she did a great job as her therapist. Like she,
oh, definitely.
with her acting, she seemed like she really cared about Laurie,
Yeah.
and it's nice that he brings those icons in. And similarly, like we said with Brad Dourif and Danielle Harris, it's like not and Dee Wallace. Not I look at with those icons, he doesn't put them in the stereotypical Rob Zombie type character,
Yeah, he doesn't like
which
exploit
is a
them, which
huge
I love.
problem I know
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
yeah, both of us have with his movies, his
Yeah.
Halloween movies, anyways. But
Yeah.
I guess if we wanted to, we talked about the good. That was a good 5 minutes. Now we can talk about the bad.
The bad.
Um, yeah, I mean this. Okay, I guess jumping off of like the character, the good stuff. Like I said, I
Hmm.
hate all the shit with Lori and her friends. And her friends are
Her
fucking
new friend.
annoying, especially
Yeah.
like you kept pointing out
Yeah.
that net one was super fucking annoying and cliche and
Yeah.
just like a huge fucking slut, just really obnoxious. And
Yeah.
then the whole party thing and all that, I hated all that stuff with her new friends. It's just like, go, you want to drink, go home and have a beer with Danielle Harris, then you'll
I
get over
know.
it.
Oh my God, I would love to do that. I would do it. I'd go drink with Daniel Harris and Brad Dourif before those trashy girls any day. But but like, yeah, I didn't understand that too. And I
Yeah,
remember I said it while you and I were watching it, but like Lori super freaks out a lot in this movie and kind of becomes a borderline bitch, which I get though to an extent. They're trying to play on the whole like, oh yeah, she's really traumatized, and I get it. But
yeah,
like I get that she's like living with Annie and her dad now, and it's like stressful and they don't always get along and there's differences, but like I don't understand why when she found out that she was Michael's sister, like when she read the book, Loomis's book or whatever, she found out
yeah,
why wouldn't the first person she would want to tell and like get advice from and like talk to about it would be Annie. Annie is apparently a friend she's had like forever, like they've known each other for a while, they both lost Linda together, they both have gone through the same traumatic shit with Michael like the previous year or whatever the time lapse is supposed to be. Like the point is they both went through some shit together. Why wouldn't she go and be like, hey, I like even if they get into a little fight in the beginning, it should have ended with her like saying, I'm sorry, I'm freaking out because A, B, and C, and then she should have told Annie. I don't like how she did. And you're right, it kind of seems like when Lori's with Brackett and Annie, it works. But then for some reason when Lori's with those other girls, it kind of seemed like
yes.
there were two Loris, and it was like there was like the bad Lori and then the good Lori. And I don't just mean that literally, like, oh, she was bad with those friends because she tried. Like, I just mean in terms of like how how the character was. Like, she was kind of like trashy and annoying and stereotypically
How
like
she was
the
portrayed and like how
yeah. I don't
you
like
felt
that.
about her. Yeah,
Exactly. And then I would have loved to see a scene where she's like getting emotional with Annie and talking to her about like Michael being her brother and then Annie being like, "Oh my God, are you serious? Like how do you like it would have been really really cool, but instead she just kind of ran away. She got into this huge fight with Annie and like, "Oh, you don't understand me" type angsty bullshit and just like ran away and went with these random friends that we don't even know. Like they're literally in like two scenes and they're really annoying every time they're especially like you said the brunette one is really fucking annoying and the stereotypical like slutty, but like she was even more annoying than I feel like cuz like it's funny because when I think about Linda from the original Halloween, I'm talking about PJ Souls' Linda. It's like she's annoying and she's slutty and she's supposed to, and she drinks beer and she's bad girl, whatever. And it's the totally thing, and she's like supposed to be ditzy, but like for some reason I love her, and I guess maybe because it was the first of its kind, and they don't, even though they do overdo her, it's at the same time it works for some reason. But like in any other movie that followed suit and tried to do like the slutty, annoying teenage girl, I feel like it's just always so annoying. And Rob Zombie obviously goes so far with it because oh he loves to be exploitive and just do the bad thing and push the envelope. And it's just like like this character was actually really annoying. And I'm talking about the dark hair friend. I don't even know her name, which is bad, the character name or actress, but she was terrible. And it just seemed like there was a
I
random sex
mean,
scene with her. Yeah, see that's
right.
that's all you know. It's bad. And it's just like right in the middle of the movie, there's just this random sex scene so that they can show more
And
titties and they can show more things like, oh,
right.
horny
And it's
teenagers, and it's
like we knew
annoying.
we knew both of her friends were gonna die, and it's like, okay, I don't give a crap because they're annoying and
Exactly.
they're like
Exactly.
they're kind of keeping Lori away from the 5% good portion of
Yeah.
the movie, which was kind of
Exactly.
frustrating.
I
Um,
agree.
so yeah, just more typical Rob Zombie shitty fucking characters, and like
Mhm.
there was at least two scenes that I remember going off on shitty Rob Zombie characters. Two scenes like at the beginning with those random people who drove on the field and found Michael in their
Yeah,
truck, and then he
what the
killed them,
fuck?
and then there was Michael went to the
Yeah.
strip club and killed them. What was the point of that? Except
What
for
was
like
it?
we
Yeah.
said we were watching it like normally like Annie in the first film is topless and she's starts to have sex with her boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
And then was it just that Rob Zombie was like, oh shit, the place that Laurie and Annie are in this film, like the emotional place. Oh, they can't be that. They can't be nude. They can't be having sex and all that, and they can't be just random whatever. So
Yeah.
let's interject these random ass scenes so we have that. And it's
Oh,
just
I
like
know.
completely pointless and completely fucking stupid.
Yeah.
There's no point to those scenes that I just mentioned,
That's
besides
why
more
that's why it was really
nudity and gore.
annoying, and that's like a Rob Zombie trope, I feel like. And even honestly, like, not even just to shame Rob Zombie, because it's honestly like a newer horror movie trope and a big slasher trope. It's like, we have
Yeah,
to push, how far can we push it? Let's have gore, and let's, like, this was the goriest Halloween, which I was actually pleasantly surprised that all the Halloweens like were pretty tame in that department. Like, there were some scenes that were obviously, he'd stab somebody or whatever, but like for the most part the Halloween stayed pretty tame in that department, which I like. Because, and no, it's not because, oh, you're such a pussy, you don't like gore. It's just like, gore to me is, it's like jump scares. It's like a cheap way to try to make your movie appear more, oh, we're bad, and we're I don't even know what the word, extreme, I guess. Like, they like to
right.
push it so much that it's like, and that's not
Hmm.
scary. Like, there's way more you could do to scare me than just fucking show somebody getting their head chopped off, or like, whatever. And I feel like Rob Zombie did that. And the whole nudity thing, again, I don't get offended easily. I don't care about that. I feel like if there is a scene that it needs to be, the person needs to be naked, or there's anything, and
It's
it's fine. But when it's for no reason other than, hey, we
yeah.
want to show some tits, and we want to get, the audience's
It's
attention that way,
when
it's annoying.
it is, yes, and it's when it's pointless.
Mhm.
Because like I also said when we were watching it, the first Rob Zombie Halloween, you had Linda and Annie both nude in the film, and it's like, okay, they're with
Yeah.
their boyfriends, they're repeating the same steps from the original film,
Yeah.
fine. But it's when you have these random ass characters in these random ass scenes, okay, let's
Yeah.
do this just to sensationalize the film. It's like there's no
Exactly.
purpose or point.
Yeah, it's just because they could do it, so they did do it. And it's like, we got to show this, random stripper, because why not? And this old guy's about to have sex with her, and it's just like, I don't. I mean, again, if it had something pertaining, I don't mind uncomfortable scenes too. Like, if there's a scene, and this is gonna sound probably really controversial, but this is just my personal opinion. And Dylan, you have nothing to do with this. It's just coming from me. I don't even mind, if a movie calls for a horrific rape scene or a horrific torture scene, or if there's something that where it's needed to express a certain type of story or whatever, like whether it comes from like a book that somebody wrote and
Sure.
it's being transferred to film or whatever, anything like that, like, I am not going to flinch away from those things. But if it's literally in there just for shock value, just like the rape scene from the first like the first Rob Zombie Halloween, like, it was just like, he just does it because he
Hmm.
knows he can, and he just likes that type of like shock value and in your face stuff and extreme thing. And it's like, that's not really what Halloween's about. The reason why the very first Halloween, the original one with Jamie Lee Curtis, worked so well was because of the pacing and the subtlety. And it was just, he just went so overboard with everything, with the material and the gore and the nudity and just everything. And it's just like, dude, you don't have to do that to make a good horror film. But I guess some people just think that that's what you need to make a good horror film. I don't know, or a good slasher, but I don't think you need any of that.
Right. No, you really do not. And I guess something else was pretty shitty about this movie, and I feel like I probably said it, and you'll know what I'm talking about once I talk about it. But something else that was shitty is like with Halloween, the whole cult and everything, and
Yeah.
there's plenty of other examples in the series, but it's when Halloween is not simple. When it's not simple,
Oh, definitely.
it does not
It
work.
doesn't work. Yeah.
And this film, for whatever reason, and I sort of choked about it with you once we finished this movie, when I said that Michael's mom is played by Rob Zombie's real life wife, and it's like, oh, that's why
Yeah.
she's in this movie. That's why he made up that bullshit. But the whole white horse thing and
Oh, that
her,
was
and
yeah.
immediately you brought up the point about like that's Jason. Jason does things because his mom tells him to, and all
Yeah.
of that stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
and also said, like I said, when that stuff first started showing up, I was like, hey, Randy, I can sort of kind of explain to you the Thor bullshit. Good
Yeah.
luck. I cannot explain to
Yeah.
you what any of this white horse crap means. And it's
Yeah.
when they try to do that random, confusing shit is when the movies fall apart and when it sort of kills
Yeah.
whatever
No.
version of the series they're doing. Because like six
Yeah.
killed the series, then they rebooted it with H2O in a sense, and then this, and now they're doing the new one. It doesn't work when they try to do that confusing shit. Halloween is its best when it's simple.
Yeah, it's just like about a killer and this kid that went crazy and like why do we need so much backstory and explanation? We really don't. Like I think what made again, I'm always gonna say what made the original so good was its simplicity. It was literally like the most simple story ever, and yet it was so effective. And the pacing and everything about the original was just like that's how you do a good horror or slasher, whatever you want to say, whatever genre you want to use. But that's how you do a good, effective movie. And I don't know. It just this one went even more overboard than the first one. I thought the first one was going to be bad, and again, it was. It had its moments, but then it also had decent moments. This one, the only decent moments, like you said, were just like, yeah, he casted very well, which is, I mean, at least most of the characters were cast very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, except for Michael. We got to talk
right,
about that too. I knew we were going to end up going off on that, but if you want to talk about, because we both
right.
agree that this was
Well,
not really good with that whole thing.
no, not at all. I feel like we could, you know, get into how they fucked up probably the two most important characters in the series, Michael and Loomis. But yes, if we want to start
Oh
with
yeah,
Michael, at the very beginning, I remembered it was going to come up when he first starts stabbing that nurse in Laurie's like hospital dream, and he
yeah.
starts grunting and like making noises.
Yeah.
I was
He's like,
immediately I
oh, and
was
he's
like,
like actually
oh
yelling. I didn't like that. That was like not, that's so out of
yeah.
character for him. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, mask aside, that was pretty shitty and sort of like completely like ruined, where you could see like
Yeah,
half of his face. I'm pretty sure.
right.
But mask aside, because all the Halloween films pretty much have mask problems, except for
Yeah.
the first film. Um, but like, yeah, hearing him grunt and like seeing him it, over 50% of the time without the mask and just a big giant beard and long hair, it was just I didn't
Oh
like
my
it at all.
God.
And especially at the
That,
end
yeah.
when he spoke and like said die at
Die.
Loomis,
Yeah.
I was just like, good
It
job,
just,
Rob Zombie. You really just destroyed the whole thing, the whole mystique of Michael. He's not supposed to speak.
exactly.
Grunting was bad enough. It all worked together to make a shitty version of Michael. And again, I'll say
Yeah.
that, you know, Michael in his first Halloween was fine, I think.
Right.
Besides the size, I think there was, shots of him in the background I liked. It was sort of reminiscent of the older films.
Yeah.
And most of the time in his first Halloween, I was like, okay, that's Michael. I can
Yeah.
I can get the essence of Michael and feel it, but this was just, I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus
If
Christ,
if there were
it's
any
not
background
Michael.
scenes, I didn't notice them at all in this one. If there were any, like I said, there may
In
have been
this
like
one,
maybe, yeah, because it was not
I
subtle
don't
at all. This
know.
one was
I really don't.
so this one was what I expected all the sequels to be, honestly. It was so in your face, it was so gory, it was so, nudity everywhere and just for no reason at all, and Michael, oh my God, like speaking on that, yeah, I knew I was gonna have to vent about this when we started recording because I know I kept saying it to you when you and I were watching it, and Loomis is a whole nother one that we will definitely get to. But speaking on Michael first, like, oh my God, how can you get a character that's that simple, like, so badly wrong? Like, how I, I don't care what Michael looks like under his mask in any of the sequels. You never really see it except for in the first one, and then I believe the fifth one when Jamie does get him to take off his mask. Other than that, we don't really ever see Michael's face, and I'm
Right, yeah,
fine
you
with him
see him in
being
the
a big.
shadows and you see his eye. That's about, yeah.
Exactly. And other than that, we don't really ever see his face, and I'm fine with him being a big mystery. That's the point. But if you're gonna show his face, Michael, I'm sorry, he's not a 7 foot brute with a fucking, Harley Davidson beard and whole thing about him. Like I was telling Dylan when we were watching this one, like I could probably like look over and see some dude in my town riding a Harley that looks exactly like the actor who plays Michael in this, and that's like what I guess Rob Zombie thinks is cool and scary, but that's not like my dad rides a fucking Harley. That Michael looked more like my father in this fucking movie than like a fucking crazy serial killer, and that's like, and I don't know, I just don't think that whole thing works for Michael Myers. Like you can create a serial killer that has that type of look to him. That's fine. I mean, I don't know, then this is for the audience because I think I already talked to you about this, Dylan. But like, if anybody has seen the original, I've never seen the remake. I don't like remakes, but the original Mad Max, and there you go. There are motorcycle gangs and people that look like that kill people and are fucked up people. But for Michael Myers, no, I never would have saw him as this guy with super long hair and a huge big beard, and he's 7 foot tall and he's huge, and it's just like. I don't think that works. And again, the whole huge thing again is like a thing that was more Jason than Michael ever was. Like Michael was just a normal
Right.
guy, whereas Jason was always
And
huge and Jason
then they
listened to
went
his
more
mom. It's
Jason in
like
this
this
one.
is yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. It's weird. It's like he took inspiration from like Halloween, but also was like, let's throw a little bit of Friday, and it's like no, it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't work. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I don't like Michael being portrayed as literally like a biker dude. Like it looks like it's like a typical, you said
Right.
this, like Rob Zombie makes everything into like he molds all characters into like his idea, I guess, of what, because everybody's shitty too, except for the main characters, like we were talking about. Like every side character in this is like a
Yep.
piece of shit, like whether they're pervy and they're disgusting or they're just an asshole for no reason. Like everybody always has like this horrible side to their personality, except for maybe the main ones. And it's like, and even the main ones in this, like even we'll talk about Loomis in a minute, but he got really like in a different side that I would never have thought Loomis would ever go, but of course Rob Zombie took him there. And then even though and again, I
Hmm.
am exactly with you. I love Danielle Harris, but even at times Annie was a little bit bitchy. But again, I think you pointed out that Laurie is even worse because Laurie has these moments where she just
I
completely freaks
think
out and
Laurie was right. Yeah,
yeah.
and I said this when we were watching it. I mean, I could see that with Annie, but like Laurie in this was just. I
Like
said this, like
nonsensically
she's living with
crazy.
them, and they're
Yeah.
taking care of her, and she's just. And I get it, whatever I'm dealing with, but she's just a
Yeah.
fucking bitch. And then like Annie's, being like the motherly character, trying to take care of her, and
Yeah.
like she says at the beginning, like when when Lori was like at the beginning, she said like, "Oh, Annie, you don't fucking care, whatever," and Annie was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, Lori, I don't get it. I don't fucking care," like
Mhm.
sarcastically. It's
Mhm.
like that's where I'm just like, that's a shitty Lori. That's a very shitty Lori for not understanding all that
Yeah.
these people are doing. But no, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying about Annie, but
Yeah.
like you also said, I feel like it's a little more. Um, Makes more sense with Annie based on kind of sort of who she was originally,
Yeah.
in the original
Annie's
film.
got that
But to have
psycho. Yeah.
Laurie be this ungrateful little snotty little bitch is just like,
Yeah.
wow.
And they can use the excuse all
Again, I
they want
get
that
it,
she
she
was
dealt with this,
she went
but
through trauma. Yeah, but
yeah,
like I feel like even when you go through like I don't know, I've been through shit in my life, but I would never I couldn't imagine a fucking serial killer chasing me for an entire night and almost killing me and killing my friends. So I don't know how I can relate to Lori, but I just want to say I would like to think that like Jamie Lee Curtis's version of Lori, if the story had went in that direction, I just feel like she would have played her a little more tame. I keep saying that word, but like it's just a little more like she like because Lori was like nonsensically freaking out on everybody, even Margot Kidder. How dare you? You do not talk to a screen legend that way. But I'm just saying.
like I said, those three, Annie, Laurie, Brackett, are the
Yeah.
best, but not Brackett, but Annie and Laurie do kind of have their own moments in this film that are kind of like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm blinded because I love Danielle Harris, but I feel it's a lot more apparent with Laurie. Um, But I guess if we want to keep talking about shitty original characters, I mean, original
Yeah.
characters that became shitty in this movie, we can move
Yeah,
on to
that never were
Loomis.
before.
Um,
Oh my
I
gosh.
know. I mean, before we start getting into his shittiness,
Mm.
again, I have to say, like I said a couple times during the movie, I think he's kind of funny. He's kind of a huge ass
Yeah.
dick.
Yeah.
Like when like his assistant or whatever she was, and when he said like, "Oh, if I want an opinion from you, I'll beat it out of you," and then
Yeah.
when he like pushed her away and shoot her off, and like
Yeah.
he told her to get back in the car, you get your ass in there or something, get
Yeah.
your ass back in there. I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible representation of Loomis, but I thought he was funny. But to have
Yeah,
him such an
because even you quoting
egotistical,
those two lines, I bet you
selfish,
anything nobody that knows the character of Loomis from the original or even the first couple of sequels would ever have thought Loomis would have said what you just said right now.
yeah,
But it's true, so here we go.
yeah.
Now let's
But to have him be such an egomaniac in this film was such a. I
Yeah.
feel like Michael and Loomis especially were really, and Laurie were really morphed into Rob Zombie versions of the characters.
Oh,
Whereas
definitely.
in his
Yeah.
first film, they were more or less. I mean, they were more or less the original characters, obviously not
Mhm.
the same and not as well realized, but they were
Yeah.
more or less the same, approach
That's true.
to those characters. But here it was just like, okay, Rob Zombie decided to morph these characters into his versions. I mean, while I will say that Loomis is kind of hilarious some of the times in this film, it's not Loomis. And I know
Yeah.
you were surprised when we watched the first Halloween, actually didn't mind in Rob Zombie's first Halloween. You were expecting something different, and it wasn't terrible. And then
Yeah.
this came along.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was actually really like I don't know, sad's the wrong word, but kind of like disappointed, I guess, like with this sequel because I felt like he actually did a decent job. He did a decent enough job with Laurie, but even Loomis, like I've talked about it so many times in previous parts. I will continue to talk about it. If anybody ever brings up Halloween, I will always say Donald Pleasance, Donald Pleasance, Donald Pleasance. That's all I'm gonna say. I've gone on and on about him, so I really guess I don't need to keep saying it, but like I mean, he's so good. There we go. And like for anybody to step in his shoes is like a big deal for me personally because I just love Donald Pleasance. I love the way he plays Loomis, and Loomis is such a big special part of Halloween for me personally. And so it was like a bitter pill to swallow for anybody to step in that role. But I actually thought that Malcolm McDowell and then even Rob Zombie's writing and portrayal of the character was not that bad. Was it comparable to Donald Pleasance? No, but that it'll never be. Nobody will ever be. But like I
No.
mean it wasn't like so far left that it was so terrible. This one, they kind of like they definitely he's just like a pompous like, you know, I'm better than everybody else type of asshole in this, and he just like makes money off of the whole Michael thing, which I never would have seen. Like Loomis in the first movie and even the sequels that followed is can be like defined by like he's like almost psychotically obsessed with like catching Michael and getting it because he wants to protect everybody. He knows how Michael is.
Uh-huh.
He like wants Michael to be either dead or caught or just something. And like in this one, he just like was off doing a book tour, didn't even fucking like know or care, and was like telling everybody, oh yeah, he's dead. Like he did.
Exactly.
It was like ridiculous, and I was just like, wow. And like I will admit he did
He
have
didn't
funny moments. I
care until
agree with
the
that,
end.
but
He saw them on the news, and then he just
exactly.
went up there. And
Yeah, it's
then,
not like Loomis at
I know
all.
you pointed it out in that. No, not at all. Um, but you pointed it out in that scene when he showed up, like Brad Dourif's acting in that scene when Loomis showed up and he
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
shoot him. That was amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like Loomis. So it's a little jarring. Decides to all of a sudden just make them his shitty versions.
Yeah, even Michael, like everybody sort of changed in this version. I mean, Michael was not the best in the first one either. We talked about that already in the first part, but I mean, Michael being this big bearded
Yeah.
guy, and then, Loomis being this pompous asshole, and, Laurie being this, sometimes calm and regular Laurie, but then other times just completely losing her shit. And I mean, I just feel like, Jamie Lee Curtis did a better traumatize Lori, because I get that you're traumatized and everybody deals with things differently, but for her to just like freak out and be a bitch, I feel like that's like a cop out. It's like an easy way out to write a character like, oh, she's traumatized and upset, let's have her lash out at everybody that's trying to help her. Like, I don't, feel like that's completely realistic, but again, I've never had a near death experience with a psychotic maniac, so I can't fully speak on how I would react, but I just feel like, and I feel like, wouldn't she want to be close to the people that sort of went through it with her? Like, Annie was stabbed and all fucked up in the first one and has scars. Like, why wouldn't you want to be close to the people that are helping you, A, and then B, like somebody that also went through it with you, lost a friend with you, they both lost Linda, like I said. So I don't know, I just kind of feel like his
Mm,
portrayal of all the characters is sort of just like, wow, like it kind of like leaves you just like scratching your head, like why would they do that? Like, why is Michael a
I
giant brute with a beard?
know.
Why is Loomis a pompous asshole? Why is Lori freaking out at everybody trying to help her? Like, I just don't get it most of the time in this one. And again, the first one, like I said, he was more tame. He kept everything a little more under wraps and more under the original of the way they were supposed to
Mhm.
be. But in this one, it's like he just went overboard. He was like, I feel like he was like, okay, I made the first one and it was pretty successful. Now I can just go overboard with everything. It's like, no, dude, like you kind of ran some characters into the ground, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess you kept saying like, why is Michael like this? Why is Loomis like this? Just the answer is Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
And you're right, he did sort of tame it down a little bit with his original Halloween, and then
yeah,
if you see any of his other films, it's just like this is what he does, and he was given free reign because they really wanted him to do a sequel, you know. So I guess they just let him do whatever he wanted to, even if it meant messing up the characters like way too much to the point where they were like, I assume they were excited to continue with Rob Zombie's Halloween series because his first one did so well, and then this one just sort of
yeah,
killed it. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we place this when we do rank all the films for
Well,
sure.
speaking of
I have
that,
a
you said something
strong
and
feeling it's going to be like way at the bottom. But
oh yeah, yeah. No,
anyways,
I think I have my list like I said, but I might have to actually like fully step back and think about it. But
right,
speaking of like the ranking, you said something when we were watching the movie that I think is interesting to like bring up for this, for the sake of this discussion, because I think it is interesting how you said like, "Oh, Brandy, now do you see why when I did see what's the one? The
the
sixth movie."
producer's cut of six.
Yeah, and you were like, do you understand now like why I was kind of like, oh, okay, and like thinking of that and then thinking of Donald Pleasance, it's like, oh fuck yeah, I would be way more
Right.
excited to watch that than like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So I get it now.
And
I do
yeah,
get
to
it.
give it context, yeah, to give it context to people who are listening, it's just like the producer's cut only officially came out like in 2014, 2015, and that was a few years
Yeah.
after this. And yeah, I totally was just thinking, wow, after the Rob Zombie Halloweens, I get like a classic in a sense Halloween
Vibe.
film again. That's
Yeah.
amazing, and Donald Pleasance
Yeah.
is back. Like that's awesome, and it made
Yeah.
me appreciate six a little more having seen it after these ones.
Yeah,
Um,
as bad as I thought the ending was in that one, I think I would take the culty, weird ending and all of that in the sixth movie and Donald Pleasance being there than this new thing with while does have decent actors and good and great characters, obviously. I still would take, and even the whole, oh, Michael sees his mom type like supernatural element of this one versus the
right.
cult. The cult was really stupid to me, and I will continue to stand by that. It was very Rosemary's Baby esque and random, but at the same time, I think I would definitely take that and that movie versus like this one. If we're going in like, oh, which one would you rather be considered canon? I would definitely pick like the sixth movie. Donald Pleasance is there, and it was weird, but I could accept it a little bit more than
Yeah.
just, oh, he's seeing his mom everywhere and she's telling, and his mom was like a good person. I don't get why they twisted her into like this Jason type mom where she was like telling him to kill people and telling him what to do, and like she was like a really good person. So
Right.
it's really confusing why they went in that direction. And the white horse thing, and it was fucking weird. And him seeing himself as a kid everywhere, and obviously played by a different actor, which is I guess kind of good. Wink, wink. But
A
anyway,
better actor.
yeah.
Um,
But it was weird.
yeah, I know. It was really confusing and really stupid. There's one more thing I did wanted to bring up before, we wrap up on this
Right.
fantastic movie. Um, I think I said when we were watching it, what like I said, my favorite moments in the film were the ones with three actors and characters that I already talked about. But
Right.
I said this to you, my favorite moment in the film, and the moment
Hmm.
that I actually really do love
Right.
is because I grew up on Halloween 4 and 5, and Jamie and Danielle Harris. I love that her death scene in this, Annie's death scene, Danielle Harris's death scene,
Yeah.
that they actually cut back to footage. And I think I remember hearing it was like actually home movies. Like Rob Zombie asked Danielle Harris, "Do you have any like home movie like
Oh,
things that I can use because I have this idea for it?" And
that is
I
actually
loved it
really cool.
because it, this is Annie, this is not Jamie, but then they cut back to young Danielle Harris, which obviously looks exactly like Jamie, and it is
Yeah.
Jamie, and it's just like to see, I guess, to see him respect her enough. I mean, he respected her enough to bring her back in the first place, like after she was fucked
Right.
over with Halloween 6, to bring her
Exactly.
back as a new character, but then to give her this end, to give the character of Jamie and the actress Danielle Harris, to give her the end that he did really respectfully, making
Yes.
her death in the film be the only one that you actually feel upset about, like it bothers you, like you actually care that she's dead, for the
Exactly.
character of Annie. And again, just like I said, just giving this person who, and the original character she played, who both of them became so important to the franchise
Yeah.
and were not always respected. I just, and
That
this
would.
film gave her
Yeah.
that respect
Yeah,
at
he
the
definitely
end. Like
did
he
that on
gave her the
purpose. He
ending
had
she
to have.
deserved.
Like that was so because she of
Yeah,
who
yeah,
she was in this year. Like it wasn't just because at first I was like, oh, is he just at first like for a split second it was like, okay, is he just showing that because it's supposed to be like Brad Dourif, her dad, like is like reflecting. But then it's like no, he totally did that for the audience too, that the people that know her. Because again, I do think
yeah.
that Rob Zombie does
And
respect
I
and
love
know a
that.
lot about
Yeah,
older horror movies. So I feel like he
yeah,
definitely did it on
yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
Yes, but it was great, and it's for sure my favorite part of this film. The only part of the
Yeah,
film
it
that I
was pretty
actually really
emotional.
do really love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually like got
and
like
just
it
yeah,
was emotional because they showed her as a kid, but even like Brad Dourif's acting on that part is just like wow, like you kind of felt the sense that like
and when they
wow, this is
completely took
actually
the
a
sound out of
loss.
it.
Like yeah, they didn't have any dramatic.
Yeah,
It wasn't over the top dramatic. He actually kind of was calm and it was like portrayed in like I actually was like wow, like you very rarely in slasher type movies do you have a death where it's actually like oh my god, like that's really sad. Like any other horror movie, if you have a death, it can
yeah,
work. Like obviously, Pet Cemetery, for example, when Gage dies, it's really emotional. But most of the time in slasher movies, when it's like Michael or Jason or Freddy or somebody that's just killing people left and right, it's like you really don't care that much. It's just like, oh, okay, they died, whatever. You might get a little mad if it's an
mhm,
actor you like or something,
yeah,
but like for the most part, it's never really emotionally charged. But I will say that is one thing Rob Zombie did 100% right in this sequel. Like that death was actually, and again, it might also be the emotions coming from like, oh yeah, this is Jamie and this is the character we've known before. But even like I said, Brad Dourif even adds to it with his like
right.
his upset and just everything about that scene was really, really well constructed. I actually applaud him for that. It was really
I
good,
know.
and it was actually made me like kind of choked
Yes.
up a little bit. Not as bad as I was with Loomis and Jamie, and I will always admit that yes, I cried at that moment when they hug each other at I think it was it the fourth movie when they like he sees her outside of the school and they hug each other and
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh my god." But yeah,
yeah,
other than that, this one kind of actually did kind of almost get to me. I was just like, "Damn." And I guess again it's also and every time Danielle Harris gets upset, I see just like Jamie in her face. Like obviously she's the same person, but like you see her I feel like you see her younger like kid face whenever she gets really upset. Maybe that's because she was always upset in the previous movies and, she was always crying and distressed. But I don't know. Every time she gets upset, I'm like, oh my God, it's Jamie. And it's just like, yeah, it really does make it emotional.
I
He did
know.
definitely a good job, like casting her and showing her respect, which I can bitch all day about all the other shit he's done with the characters in this movie and everything else, but at least he did respect Danielle Harris enough to be like, okay, yeah, you actually are a pretty important part of this, and we're going to bring you back, and we're going to do something right. And the fact that he let her live throughout the first movie, like I thought she seriously did die. I didn't expect her to be in this sequel at all, and the fact that she was
Mhm.
was awesome. So
Yeah, which I mean, for all their flaws, that is one thing about the Rob Zombie Halloween films that I will always appreciate
yes,
and, you know, give him respect for doing that because
Definitely,
you
yeah.
know, yeah, she was so important and she did not deserve to be fucked over like she did, like
Yeah,
she
and I'm
was in
glad that
six.
of
So
all
it was
people,
really
Rob Zombie even
nice.
realized that. So come on, like, let's get with it, guys.
I know, yeah, which is why she should totally be in the new one. I
I
mean,
know
make
that would
her
have made it even better.
Laurie's daughter.
Yeah, she doesn't have to be Jamie,
Ignore
but just
the other sequels.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
just
agree.
simplify it. Just don't have her be Jamie. Who cares? But whatever. It's Jamie Lee Curtis. It's gonna be about her. Anyways, I can't help myself whenever I take a jab at Jamie Lee Curtis. But anyways,
It's
to
fine, I get
wrap up, as
it.
we always do.
Do you have any like final thoughts, I guess, on this one before we do? Are we fully finished? But I guess we kind of
Yeah,
covered everything. But
I guess to wrap up on this, like I always do with all the other ones, just to ask, was this a good Halloween movie, a good sequel, or a bad sequel? For me, it was bad. It was pretty bad. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, I guess it was Resurrection level bad, but
yeah,
Resurrection is just a movie that's always just made me want to just jump off a bridge. I mean, I hate
yeah.
it.
At least this one
But this
had good
one, it's
actors,
close,
though.
but it did. It had good actors and it had some good scenes with those
Exactly.
actors. So
Yeah.
it's, I think it's a step above Resurrection. But for you, what do you think?
No, I would agree with that. And again, I feel like I always say that, oh, I just agree with everything you say, Dylan. But seriously, like I mean, you and I
I
definitely do have a
agree.
lot in common. And I agree with that. Like Resurrection was a completely like they're both bad, but I feel like they're bad in completely different ways. Like there's things about each of them that just make them both bad, but like they're different. I don't know. It's because in this one the acting was good. It has nothing to do with the acting. Whereas in Resurrection the acting was very questionable, and the people they got to be in it was just like, what the fuck were you guys thinking? In this one, it's like, no, the acting is actually really good. It's just like what Rob Zombie did with the material. Like he just went completely overboard as he often does, which I was surprised he didn't really do in the first one. A little bit
Mhm.
like with Michael's backstory and everything he did, but like the first one was decent, especially compared to this one. So I would say no. I don't think this is a good Halloween movie. Is it the worst? That's debatable, but I don't know. I don't think it was good. I guess I'll just say that.
Right.
But the acting was strong enough, and the cameos like Margot Kidder being in it was awesome. Brad Dourif still being part of it. Obviously Danielle Harris is being a big play playable. Wow, I played too many videos.
Yeah.
A big character in it still. There we go. Everybody can make fun of me now. It's fine. But still being an important character, I guess I should say. Like she had significance all the way up till the end, so that was cool. So I feel like that saves him a little bit because but like also all the other shit is just really bad. Ruining Loomis and everything the character stood for was like awful. Ruining Michael and just even if you just want to be like, oh, he just ruined his physical appearance, but even like you said, like Michael made noise in this. He doesn't make any, and he spoke at the end. He doesn't do that. The only thing that Michael should
Yeah.
ever, any noise I guess Michael should ever make is like when he breathes really hard, because he does that in the very first movie. You
Uh,
hear him breathing. Other than that, Michael should never make noise. It's just the way it is. So, yeah, I would say that no,
right.
this is not a good Halloween movie. That's my opinion, though.
And yeah. And I would agree. Where it is placed on our lists, we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, interesting. Then we can talk more about it then, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. No, not good. Not good.
Not good at all.